I've gotten a lot out of the Global Research Council. This is my 6th meeting, and every time I make more friends from around the world, and I also learn a lot because we have different subject matter that we cover every time. We pick out different topics to discuss, and then we have side meetings, which are also very interesting. For example, this meeting, we had a side meeting on gender and the issue of women in science. And the working group on that issue have done a lot of work this past year. And they have assembled a booklet of best practices from around the world, and I think that'll be very valuable for people. And that's, in a way, a microcosm of what the GRC does best, is that it gathers people from around the world that are funders of research, and they talk about common challenges that they have and what kinds of solutions they found that work well. And so it's really interesting to find out more about those and to bring those home and talk to our own people about whether this is something that we could do as well. And that's what I've done in the past. So I like those aspects of the Global Research Council of learning best practices and bringing those back, and also just the friendships that you build up over the years, and learning about how other research agencies function. They're all a little different. No two are the same. And I want to tell you about an experience yesterday. I was the acting chair for the governing board because the chair had to be unavoidably absent. So the executive support group asked me to chair the meeting. We always have a meeting before the Global Research Council starts of just the governing board, and we do some of the functions of just running the organization. But at the end of it, I asked a question, because we had about a half hour left for discussion, of what have people derived in the way of benefit from the GRC. And so we went around the table and everybody spoke, probably, a dozen to 15 people spoke. And they were very eloquent and passionate speeches about what benefit that they've derived from the Global Research Council. And I think it's the ones that I mentioned, plus some thought that that they're now able to use the GRC to leverage things that they want to do in their own country. So, for example, if they said to their the bodies that fund them, for example, in our country it's the Congress that funds them. It's different in some countries. But if they said, we really want to go in this direction and we want to have these principles in our research funding, they might not be taken as seriously as if they said, the Global Research Council had a big meeting on this topic 2 years ago. They adopted a statement of principles about this, and here's what they said, and we think that that is good motivation for moving in that direction. And so that really speaks very loudly, because there are some 60 members that show up for these Global Research Council meetings. And when they agree on a statement of principles, as they did again this time it was a statement on broader impacts, what are the impacts of research funding and how should we think about them, then it really makes a difference. So using the good name of the GRC to further the sensible good things to do for one's country is also a good motivation. And then it was also pointed out that there are specific projects, like the gender working group is taking on, that are important to every country. And if we can identify those big things that will really move the needle, that those can be other efforts that we can all congregate around and make a real difference. And I think that's what's happening on the gender working group. There's also a working effort on open access for publications, and data. And that's very important, and everybody is very, very interested in that. And there's one on research partnerships. And so I think there is no other organization that is just for research funders. And yet, the progress of science depends on being funded. And so the research funding organizations have a huge responsibility to transform the benefits, the opportunities for their countries. And so they need to take themselves seriously, be taken seriously by the people who are funding them, and be able to show benefit. And I think this is a way that we learn.